Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Omani economy records a growth of 8.7% last year. Rebels in Syria's southern province of Dar'a make a deal to hand over their heavy weapons, signaling the full return of the province to the government forces. And the Iranian president says his country will continue its economic relations with the rest of the world despite more sanctions by the United States. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. Omani economy was able to emerge from decline as it witnessed a comprehensive recovery and recorded a growth with the current prices by 8.7% in the last year. This came in analysis issued by Central Bank of Oman, which said that comprehensive refine witnessed by the Sultanate's economy to the increasing in oil prices and positive effects exerted at economy diversification level, in addition to the government continuation in following financial control through rationalization of governmental expenses and enhancing tax and non-tax revenues. By the end of March, the Sultanate trade balance recorded a surplus of over 1.2 billion Omani riyals. The Sultanate's product export during March this year recorded 4 billion Omani riyals compared to 3 billion Omani riyals during the same period in the previous year. In addition, product imports increased by 12% as the value of Oman's oil and gas imports reached 2.4 billion Omani riyals. The credit balance granted by the banking sector increased by 7.7% until the end of April 2018, with a record exceeding 24 billion Omani riyals. The majority of the credit value granted to the private sector was acquired by non-financial corporation and personal loan sectors, achieving 46% and 45% respectively, while financial corporations and other sectors achieved almost 5% of the total credit balance. The Royal Air Force of Oman participated in the Furford Air Force Base exhibition in the UK in a pavilion came under the title that continued relationship between the Sultan Armed Forces and the British Royal Air Forces, which took place during the period of the 13th to the 15th of July. The exhibition came to mark the 100-year establishing the British Royal Air Force in 1918. The ceremony was attended by Air Vice Marshal Matar bin Ali al-Ubaidani, commander of the Royal Air Force. The Sultanate participation embodied in a fixed show of a military transport aircraft C-130 associated with a number of pavilions, in addition to a sample of Omani tent, reflects the aspects of Oman culture and heritage, the authentic history of the Sultanate, a number of craft and traditional industries, musical diversity, rare photos, and interactive sections with the exhibition's pioneers. Activities of the Social Week concluded in the Governorate of Musandam. They focused on the development of skills and capabilities of the youth, as well as paying attention to the disabled and elderly categories. The Social Week also aims to exchange expertise among the participants, in addition to benefit from the summer vacation by engaging the youth in useful activities. It included various events such as entertainment sport day for the elderly, awareness campaign on moral issues in the society, and a forum for the youth in the Wilaya of Bukha, which focused on their visions and ambitions. The conclusion ceremony included an exhibition on youth creations and some local products. Still to come on News Bulletin. Cypriot researchers are collecting data on the Mediterranean monk seals as tourism and urbanization of the areas endanger their habitat.
عبق فاح بين جنباتها، فنفثت سلاما برائحة لبانها. حلقت عاليا نحو السماء، فنقشت بأبجدياتها تاريخا جميلا، وبكرمها أمست مضربا للأمثال. مهرجان صلالة السياحي 2018 من 10 من يوليو إلى 25 من أغسطس.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Syria's southern province of Daraa is the birthplace of the 2011 anti-government uprising that became a devastating 7-year war. With parts of the region falling into opposition hands, however, deals with the rebels to hand over their heavy weapons signaled the full return of the province to the government forces, which raised the regime flag in the provisional capital on Thursday. On July 11, opposition fighters in Daraa city agreed to hand over their heavy weapons or evacuate. Even before these measures were implemented, a convoy of Russian military police and regime officers entered the city on Thursday and raised the national flag. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said his country will continue its economic relations with the rest of the world, despite more sanctions by the United States. Speaking after a meeting with the government leaders, Rouhani said today they are very hopeful that the trend of economic engagement with the world will continue as before. Rouhani said the U.S. has become more isolated since imposing sanctions on Iran and said the sanctions target ordinary Iranians. He added his administration will provide the essential needs of the Iranians. Iran is an economic crisis fueled by the U.S. decision on May 8 to pull out the 2015 nuclear deal and restore sanctions. International firms have mostly left Iran, and the U.S. has demanded allies to stop buying Iranian oil. Eritrea's President Isaias Afwerki arrived in the Ethiopian capital today for a 3-day visit, days after the two neighbors declared their state of war over. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed welcomed Isaias after he arrived at the airport before they left together in the same armored 4-wheel drive car, the latest sign of rapprochement between the Horn of Africa neighbors. The meeting comes a week after Abiy visited Eritrea and signed a pact with the Isaias on resuming ties, a move that ended a nearly 20-year military standoff after a border war. Reconciliation between Ethiopia and Eritrea could change politics and security in the volatile Horn of Africa region, which hundreds of thousands of young people have fled in search for safety and opportunities in Europe. Eritrea formally seceded from Ethiopia in 1993 after a long war of independence, but the two went to war in 1989 over a border dispute. Heavy rain and thunderstorms are wreaking havoc across China, with floods along major rivers destroying bridges, blocking roads and railways, and forcing thousands of residents to evacuate. Weather authorities are forecasting more downpours throughout the country, with floods and landslides expected in the southwestern province of Sichuan. Heavy rain and flooding hits much of China this time every year, often with hundreds killed. But the number of casualties this year has been relatively low, at least in the early summer, with one province reporting 12 dead and another 3. Floods in the province had caused damage to the tune of $360 million. The normally arid region of Inner Mongolia, which had suffered weeks of drought, also issued a flood warning. In a string of caves along the coast of Cyprus, a colony of monk seals, the most endangered mammals in the Mediterranean, has found refuge. But now environmentalists and residents are accusing developers of endangering the seal's habitat by building luxury villas on top of the caves. Here is a report.
Along the western coast of Cyprus, researchers are collecting data on the endangered Mediterranean monk seal. It's Europe's most threatened marine mammal, with only 7 to 10 seals left in Cypriot waters. At fault, rising activity in the caves due to tourism and urbanization of areas near their habitat.
It has a value in the environment for the ecosystem balance, and it's also a species that is critically endangered. So if you don't protect it, then the future generation will never be able to see this species. So we have to protect it.
Construction of 6 new villas, some bought by Chinese investors just 25 meters from the seal's habitat, caused outrage here. The Green Party and local NGOs believe EU directives are not being implemented to protect the island's Natura 2000 sites, safe zones for threatened species.
We hope this will serve as a model of what not to do. We're concerned about the rest of the coast here. If this carries on and it's considered to be okay, this will become the new model of the rest of the coast here. And it's all Natura 2000.
The Cypriot government is encouraging development to help the island recover from the 2013 economic crisis. With an investment of 2.5 million euros, foreigners can obtain a Cypriot passport and access to Europe in just 6 months. But even local property developers who benefit from this scheme are angry.
It's disrespectful for the ecology, and because of greed and for pursuance of profits, it was built. And it's continued to be built and will be eventually finished. But it's going to be an eyesore forever, and something we have to live with.
The government says it's conducting appropriate environmental impact assessments to preserve the coastal protection zones. But the recent approval of 44 villas and a 4-story hotel at a nearby beach is unlikely to quiet down the outrage.
Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of cloud accumulation and scattered rainfall over Al Hajar Mountains. Low clouds and fog late at night and early morning are expected over the coasts of the Arabian Sea and the Sea of Oman, and winds will be south to southwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Omani economy records a growth of 8.7% last year. Rebels in Syria's southern province of Der'a make a deal to hand over their heavy weapons, signaling the full return of the province to the government forces. And the Iranian president says his country will continue its economic relations with the rest of the world despite more sanctions by the United States. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, thank you for watching and have a great night.